The king's shadow. The laughter still echoed in Edrick's ears as Alluria's hand withdrew from his shoulder. He sat up slowly, feeling the fragment pulse in his chest like a second heartbeat. Stronger now, more insistent. The dream clung to him like cobwebs, refusing to dissipate in the cool pre-dawn air. How long? His voice came out rougher than intended. 2 hours. Alluria crouched beside him, her dark eyes studying his face with practiced assessment. You were dreaming. Bad? Edrick touched his chest where the fragment burned. Through his tunic, through skin and bone, he could feel it pulsing. I saw Old Ravenhold, the catacombs beneath it. He met her gaze. I was there, sitting on a throne, calling myself home. Alluria's expression didn't change, but her hand moved to one of her daggers. Not threatening, just ready. The fragment? Getting stronger. Edrick pushed himself to his feet, ignoring the way his muscles protested. It's not just pulling anymore, it's showing me things, teaching me what it wants me to see. That's new. Rose's voice came from the other side of the camp, where she sat with her sword across her knees. She hadn't been sleeping either. The dreams, before it was just the pull, the whispers. It's learning. Shamaz spoke from where he tended the small fire, his weathered face grave in the flickering light. Each time we confront it, each time Edrick resists, it learns his patterns, his weaknesses. Edrick walked to the fire, accepting the cup of tea Shamaz offered. The liquid was bitter, more of the silver leaf infusion, his third dose in as many days. How much do we have left? Enough for perhaps 2 more doses. Shamaz's voice carried regret. After that, your mind will have no buffer against the fragment's influence. 2 days. Rose stood, sheathing her sword. We reach Old Ravenhold by tomorrow evening. 1 dose for the approach, 1 for the assault itself. And after? Alluria asked quietly. No one answered. They all knew what came after. The Forsaken Lake, the final confrontation, and Edrick with nothing between his consciousness and the fragment but his own will, a will that grew more strained with each passing hour. Edrick drank the bitter tea, feeling it spread through his system like cold fire. The fragment's pulsing dulled slightly, pushed back by the silverleaf's power. But he could feel the resistance now, the way the fragment fought against the herb's influence. It was getting stronger. Soon, even the silverleaf wouldn't be enough. We should move soon, he said. If the cultists know we're coming, and they do, they'll be preparing. Every hour we give them is another hour for them to strengthen their ritual. You need rest, Shamaz said, but his tone lacked conviction. I'll rest when I'm dead. Edrick caught himself, hearing the words. Poor choice of phrase. Rose's laugh was sharp and humorless. At least you can still joke about it. What else can I do? Edrick looked at each of his companions in turn. We all know how this ends. One way or another, my bloodline is the key. Either I destroy the Devourer and end Aldrich's line in the process, or the fragment takes me and I become the vessel for its return. There's no third option. There's always another option. Rose's voice was fierce. We just haven't found it yet. The amulet, Shamaz began. The amulet's symbols change every time we look at them, Edrick interrupted. Whatever message it's trying to send, we don't have time to decipher it. Old Ravenhold is 2 days away, and the Devourer is already in my head, showing me what it wants me to see. He touched his chest again, feeling the fragment pulse. Last night in the dream, I wasn't just watching myself sit on that throne. I was him. I felt what he felt, the hunger, the satisfaction, the sense of finally being complete. And the worst part? His voice dropped. Part of me liked it. The silence that followed was heavy. Rose's hand moved to her sword hilt, and Edrick saw the calculation in her eyes. She was measuring distances, angles, preparing for the moment when she might have to keep her promise. I'm still me, he said softly. Still in control. But you all need to understand. The fragment isn't just trying to possess me. It's trying to convince me that possession is what I want. That becoming the Devourer would be a relief. An end to the struggle. Is it working? Alluria's question was direct, tactical. Edrick considered lying, considered reassuring them that he was fine, that his will was unbreakable, but they deserved the truth. Sometimes, when I'm exhausted, when the fragment is pulling hardest, sometimes the idea of just letting go seems easier than fighting. Then we don't let you get that exhausted. Rose's voice was steel. We keep you sharp, keep you strong, and if the fragment tries to take you, You do what needs to be done, Edrick finished. I know, I'm counting on it. They broke camp as the first gray light touched the eastern horizon. The corrupted landscape around them seemed to writhe in the pre-dawn shadows, twisted trees reaching toward the sky like grasping fingers. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled, but the sound was wrong, harmonizing with itself in ways that made Edric's teeth ache. They're tracking us still, Alluria reported, returning from a quick scout of their perimeter. The corrupted ones. 3 wolves, maybe 4. They're keeping their distance, but they're definitely following. Let them. Edrick swung into his saddle, feeling the sealing blade's weight at his hip. The weapon hummed softly, resonating with the fragment in his chest. The devourer knows where we're going anyway. No point in pretending otherwise. They rode hard through the morning, pushing their horses across the corrupted landscape. The forest grew darker as they traveled north, the trees more twisted, the ground beneath their hooves increasingly soft and wrong. Twice they passed villages, or what had been villages. Now they were empty shells. Buildings collapsed inward as if something had sucked the life from them. How long ago? Rose asked as they passed the second ruined settlement. Days, maybe a week. Shamaz studied the destruction with a healer's eye. The corruption here is fresh, still spreading. The seals are failing faster. Edrick felt the fragment pulse in agreement. Whatever timeline we thought we had, cut it in half. By midday, they reached a ridge overlooking a vast valley. In the distance, perhaps 10 miles away, Edrick could see it, Old Ravenhold. The fortress rose from the valley floor like a broken tooth, its walls crumbling but still massive. But it wasn't the fortress itself that drew his eye. It was the darkness that surrounded it, a roiling mass of shadow and green light that pulsed like a living thing. Gods, Rose breathed. Not gods, Shamaz corrected grimly. The opposite. Alluria produced a small brass spyglass, studying the fortress. I count. 50, maybe 60 cultists visible on the walls and in the courtyard. But that's just what I can see. If they're using the catacombs for their ritual, there could be hundreds below ground. Edrick felt the fragment surge, responding to the proximity of its scattered pieces. His chest burned, and for a moment his vision doubled. He saw through his own eyes, and through something else's. Something ancient and patient that looked at Old Ravenhold with hunger and recognition. He blinked hard, forcing the dual vision away. When his sight cleared, he found Rose gripping his arm, steadying him. How bad? She asked quietly. Getting worse. Edric's voice was strained. The closer we get, the stronger it pulls. And now it's showing me things, letting me see what it sees. The silver leaf is barely holding. Edrick pulled away from Rose's grip, standing on his own. We need a plan, a real one, not just charging in and hoping the sealing blade is enough. They spent the next hour studying Old Ravenhold's defenses, such as they were. The fortress had been abandoned for centuries, its walls crumbling and its gates long since rotted away. But the cultists had clearly been preparing. Edrick could see fresh earthworks, makeshift barricades, and guard posts at key positions. They're expecting us, Alluria observed. This isn't a ritual site they're protecting. It's a trap. Of course it's a trap. Edrick felt the fragment pulse with dark amusement. They want me there. The devourer wants all its pieces in one place, and I'm carrying the biggest piece of all. Then we don't give them what they want, Rose said. We find another way. There is no other way. Edrick turned from the ridge, walking back to where their horses waited. The ritual sites have to be broken. The fragments have to be stopped from reuniting. And the only tool we have that can do that is the sealing blade, which feeds the fragment in your chest every time you use it, Shamaz said. A blade forged from the devourer's own essence, wielded by a man carrying the devourer's heart. The irony would be amusing if it weren't so deadly. King Aldric's final joke. Edric's laugh was bitter. Create a weapon that can destroy the creature, but make sure using it empowers the very thing you're trying to kill. Unless that's not what he intended. Alluria's voice was thoughtful. What if the blade and the fragment are meant to work together? What if the king becomes the blade doesn't mean sacrifice, but fusion? Fusion with what? Rose demanded. With the devourer itself. Alluria looked at Edrick. You carry its heart. The blade is forged from its essence. What if the only way to permanently destroy it is to unite those pieces, Not in the Devourer's favor, but in yours. To become something that's neither king nor monster, but both? The silence that followed was profound. Edrick felt the fragment surge, and for the first time, the emotion it projected wasn't hunger or amusement. It was fear. The Devourer doesn't like that idea, he said slowly. I can feel it. The fragment just recoiled. Because it changes the game. Shamaz's eyes were bright with sudden understanding. If Edrick can control the fusion, can direct it, then the Devourer doesn't get a vessel, it gets a prison made of its own essence, wielded by a consciousness that refuses to surrender. That's a lot of ifs, Rose said. If he can control it, if he doesn't lose himself in the process, if the fusion doesn't just make him the Devourer with a different name. All true. Edrick met her eyes. But it's better than the two options we had before. Die wielding the blade or become the monster. At least this way, there's a chance I survive as something. Something, Rose repeated. That's reassuring. It's all I've got. They made camp 3 miles from Old Ravenhold in a small hollow that offered some protection from watching eyes. As the sun set, painting the corrupted landscape in shades of blood and shadow, Edrick sat apart from the others, feeling the fragment pulse in his chest. The dual vision came again, unbidden. Through his own eyes, he saw the camp, his companions, the dying light. Through the fragment's awareness, he saw Old Ravenhold, its catacombs glowing with sick green light, and felt the presence of the other fragments drawing closer. They were coming, all of them, drawn by the heart that beat in his chest. Soon, the Devourer's voice whispered in his mind, soon we will be whole. Not the way you think, Edrick thought back, projecting the words at the fragment with all the force of his will. The fragment's response was laughter, ancient, patient, and utterly confident. Edrick closed his eyes, one hand on the sealing blade's hilt, and prepared himself for what tomorrow would bring. One way or another, Old Ravenhold would be the place where everything changed, where the cycle that had bound his bloodline for 3,000 years would finally break. He just had to make sure it broke in his favor, not the Devourer's. As darkness fell completely, Edrick felt the fragment pulse one more time, and in that pulse he heard words that chilled him to his core. You already know how this ends, little king. You've seen it in your dreams. The throne waits, and you will sit upon it, willingly or not. Edrick opened his eyes, staring toward Old Ravenhold's distant shadow. Tomorrow, they would see who was right, the ancient evil that had waited 3,000 years for this moment, or the last heir of Aldrich's line, carrying a weapon forged from the very essence of the thing he meant to destroy. The fragment pulsed again, and this time, Edrick pulsed back, pushing his own will against it with everything he had. The battle for his soul had already begun.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.